everyone, Emily from Autofy here, wanting to talk to you today about the sync scheduler. So for those of you that are set up, ready to go, you want to be able to have your sync run on a schedule so you can set it up. You don't have to worry about it. Autofy is going to handle the syncing in the background. That's perfect. That is what we always want you to strive to as a goal. Now, depending on how many workflows you have, you can set up the sync scheduler to run with multiple workflows. And depending on your subscription level, you'll be able to sync in as few as every 5 minutes and up. If you sync on the basic level, you'll be able to sync as quickly as every 30 minutes. If you're on the business level, you can sync as often as every 15 minutes. And if you're on the premium level, you can sync as often as every 5 minutes. It's very easy to enable. What you'll do is you'll go into your workflows over to the left, and up at the top of the page, there is a settings button. This is where you can enable or disable your sync scheduler. Right here, if you want to turn this on, you're just going to select the checkbox next to enabled. And then you're going to select how often you want your sync to run. Now, when you're setting this up for the very first time, what we always recommend is to start with a really large time frame. So let's start syncing once every 24 hours, making sure that the sync is running as expected. And then as that sync is running successfully, to then incrementally move that time frame down. So I'm going to set up my one sync, my one workflow, to start syncing every 30 minutes. And I want this to happen during the day. So I can select, or I can enter a time from 8 a.m. until 5:59 p.m. and when or how often I want that to run. So if that's every weekday, which is Monday through Friday, or if I want that to happen every single day. Something to keep in mind, if you are syncing as often as possible and you start to run into errors on your sync, that may start to affect your API limits if you're syncing with Salesforce. So just something to keep in mind. Even though it's running in the background, you may run into some errors, so you want to keep on top of that. So I'm going to have my sync run every 30 minutes from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. every weekday. And when you have your scheduler running, so you're not going to be logging into the system to run manual syncs, and if you're those that utilize the Autofy agent to connect with QuickBooks Desktop, you're not going to have to run a manual sync from the agent itself. So if you're doing that, we do highly recommend that you have email notifications sent out if there are errors. That way, if the sync is running in the background, it runs into an error that needs your attention, maybe an item doesn't exist when you're trying to sync over a transaction to QuickBooks, you don't want that to prevent your timestamp from moving forward. So we do recommend that you select to turn on email notifications. We will not email you though if there are no errors. So no emails, your sync is running as expected. And you can enter up to 2 different email addresses. Now what's important is to hit save. And now my specific account to customer workflow is going to run all the steps that are turned on every 30 minutes between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. on every single weekday. If I also want to turn this scheduler on for a different workflow, I just navigate to the other workflow and I can set the scheduler up the same exact way. I come up here to settings, and then I can say I want this one to sync every 5 minutes from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and that's going to be every day. So I do have the ability to do that. If you want to turn the sync scheduler off, you're going to do it the same way as you did when you set up your sync scheduler. You're going to come into the settings tab, and then you're just going to select the same checkbox. That's going to disable it, once you hit save. Now, if you do have a sync currently running, you will want to make sure that once that sync has stopped running, that you go in and make adjustments. Otherwise, it's not going to save while a sync is running. And that is as simple as it is to set up your sync scheduler. Hit the subscribe button down below. If you have questions, please reach out to us at support@getautofy.com.